Ever wonder if you could fake your own death? Make it seem like you died yet actually live and disappear forever? Well, in order to do that, one must know the basics of one's heredity and DNA. DNA is like a spiral ladder that contains all of one's predetermined traits, physical and mental. DNA is a 3 billion long strand composed of deoxyribose sugars, phosphate, and nitrogenous base pairs called nucleotides. These nucleotides come in 4 types: A for adenine, T for thymine, G for guanine, and C for cytosine, with the A's and T's matching up, as well as the G's and C's matching up. These letters combine with each other to make a sequence. This sequence is then read and translated into proteins that determine everything about you, from your hair color down to your personality. Now, if DNA controls how we look and act, and you have 99.9% of the same DNA as the person beside you, then why doesn't everyone look and act the same? There is a less than 1% difference in your DNA and in the DNA of the person beside you. This short segment of DNA makes everyone unique and different. Now you might be thinking, where does your DNA come from? Well, you inherit half of your spiral ladder strand from your mother, and the other half from your father. But how do we know all this? Where did we learn this? Thanks to the Human Genome Project, humans were able to understand how DNA works. The Human Genome Project was a worldwide scientific research project. The goal was to determine the sequence of base pairs and map out all of the genes, both physical and mental, of one's genome. They created a sort of map that allows us to see the different sequencing of one's DNA. With the Human Genome Project, we wouldn't have things like DNA fingerprinting. DNA fingerprinting allows us to determine who a sample of DNA comes from. Something like a skin sample, cheek swab, blood, or hair follicle can be used. This is the main concept that will allow us to fake our own death. To fake your own death, you're going to have to bleed. A lot. The average person has 4 to 6 liters of blood. You will need to draw little by little your own blood until you have a few liters, around 3 or 4. You're also going to need other types of DNA samples, hair and skin for example, to leave at the scene with your blood. When you're ready, choose a spot in your house to dump all your blood into a huge puddle. Smear some places to make it look like there was a struggle, and leave some hair and skin samples in places it could easily catch on. Once you have planted your hair, skin, and blood, leave the house and never return. When the police go to investigate your disappearance, they will find lots of blood, hair, and skin. They will then take these samples to the lab to do a test called DNA fingerprinting. Remember how less than 1% of your DNA is different from others? This is how you'll get away with faking your own death. In the lab, they will isolate DNA from your blood, hair, and skin samples. They will cut the DNA at specific spots to reveal a DNA fragment. Thanks to the less than 1% difference with the width of bands and the separation between them, it will create a pattern that is unique to each individual. This test will prove that your blood, hair, and skin samples were at the scene of the crime. With so much blood and no body, the police will conclude that you have in fact died, thus giving you the chance to run and never be found. While this technology can be used to fake one's death, we believe it would be better suited to catch criminals.